Other lecture? Last lecture.
So we don't have a lecture next week?
Next week, all we have are the demonstrations from the projects.
Oh.
So we have class, I do take roll, but it's the presentations and demonstrations.
And there's no way to make up for that role?
There's no way to make up if you miss next week. You're just going to miss 2 points. Yes?
Is there a final for this class? Because
There's no final for this class.
Okay, it said on Learning Suite that there was a final on.
Oh, I'm sorry, that should have been gone. I used to offer an extra credit final, but I was having maybe 1 or 2 people do each semester, and I basically said forget it.
Okay.
So,
On Facebook.
okay. This is, my last lecture here is sort of this. If there's nothing else, this is what I want you to take away from here. It is. Thank you. First is that in IT, people matter most. That's it in a nutshell. Good people will succeed under adverse circumstances. Mediocre people will fail under the best of circumstances. People matter most. A small talented team is always better than a large, less talented team, and it's often better than a large talented team. Hire carefully and thoughtfully. When you have organizations that are saying, yes, we're going to hire 50 people in the next month, that for me is a red flag. Because I don't know many organizations that can effectively process. I mean, maybe an Amazon or a Google has the bandwidth and the manpower and staff to do it. But that's it. Be tolerant of each other. I've mentioned before at Pages, I took 1.5 years to hire the team, best team I've ever worked with, and we almost fell apart. There was a lot of contention and dysfunction within the team. And thanks mostly to Rick Gessner, one of the engineers, we managed to get through that, and then that led in turn to the goal alignment process that I talked about and shown up in the literature. Try to work with the people you're with. Build them up, help them. Don't spend time pointing fingers, blame. And this gets back to the goal alignment. This is so important, and it is management views developers far too often as interchangeable parts. It's really like a sports team. And guess what? Even sports teams don't repeat. I mean, look at what, say, the Green Bay Packers are dealing with right now. You can have tremendous talent. You can have all that, and it can still fail. Chemistry. This is why, if you go back and look at people where, again, they spend most of their time saying, here's how you kill a team, but it's really hard to say how to make a team work well together. Invest in the team members. Education is so important. That's how you hold on to key people. So, this is the first lesson takeaway. People matter most. Process, to a large extent, matters least. A good process or methodology will help a great team to truly excel. No process will overcome a bad team or a bad approach. Again, I've mentioned before, in my failed project cases as an expert witness, there is this interesting syndrome, which is after the second schedule slip. I've seen this literally in 3 or 4 different large projects that I've looked at. They come up to the first deadline 3 weeks before, magic 3 weeks there. They slip for 6 months, that's also amazingly consistent. Come up to the second deadline 3 weeks before, they slip for another 6 months, and then they say, we're going to go agile. That's going to solve the problem. Usually there is no one, or at most one person on the development side who's ever done anything with agile. And like magically, this whole development team is going to become skilled at using an agile process overnight, and it usually lasts for about 2 months, and then they abandon it and just go back to what they were doing And of course, we talked about this. This was on your midterm, and a lot of you answered this very well. If you're going to adopt a new methodology, or you're bringing people on who are not familiar with it, do pilot projects with it. Do things that are non-critical and small, and build up successes. And get skilled at it, and say, okay, this works, this doesn't, here's what we need to do. And understand the strengths and weaknesses of a given methodology. Methodologies are not silver bullets any more than languages are, or physics models or libraries or anything else. Yes.
One question I have is when you're forming a new team or something like that, how do you decide on a particular methodology or things like that?
That's a really good question. That's what a lot of Accelerate is about. So part of it is a team has to come to a consensus. You may decide to try a particular methodology or a particular modified methodology and say, let's try this on a greenfield project, brand new project. We'll do it, we'll see how it happens. And at the end you say, yeah, that actually worked well. We see how this works and we all fall into natural roles, or we're going to adjust a little, and then you do it again. Here's the key, and this is why, going all the way back to the very start, one of my earliest lectures. For 40 years I've been hearing about how AI is going to make software engineers obsolete. And it's failed utterly, every single time. And it goes back to armor. It goes back to the invention and the wrong paths. Well, part of adopting a new methodology is some of those wrong paths. It's kind of like, oh, well, we tried it, we did this and this didn't work, so now we're going to have to go back and modify it and do this instead. It is software engineering, particularly team-based software engineering, is a unique and difficult process. A lot of software comes out that's actually badly written, full of defects, but pushed on the market and sells anyway. A lot of software is released within organizations, and then they spend 2 years trying to fix it from what it was, from what it was actually released to what it's supposed to be. It's going to be hard. Be aware of this. On the other hand, you have a good team. It's kind of like, yeah, we'll just do this. We'll talk to each other. Process in that case tends to be a way to keep yourself focused and improve communications. If the process is improving communications and keeping yourself focused on what's essential to get done, it's a good process. Whether it's waterfall, agile, or whatever you want to call it. If the process becomes an end in and of itself, then it's wrong. I mentioned Aaron, where they had an extremely rigorous formal process and they wanted to go to weekly builds because they heard that weekly builds were a good thing. But they were still following their formal in-house process, and because of that, programmers had 1 day to program. And the rest of the week was spent doing all the rest of the stuff in the process to get stuff signed off and get it prepared, get it through, test and everything else, and then do the build. 1 day a week is not enough to program. Okay. I hope you remember this. Ignore or minimize software quality assurance at your peril. This is one of the biggest issues in software engineering today. It's an absolute unwillingness. And you go all the way back to Brooks saying, people don't like the fact that I say 50% of the project's time is spent on testing. In my experience, is when you look at it afterwards, that's how much time they actually spent testing. And that's why you get the 90-90 rule. 90% of the project takes the first 90% of the schedule, and the remaining 10% takes the other 90% of the schedule. Because you've built it up to a certain point, and you've pushed off quality, and you've pushed off the hard problems, and then it drags on for months trying to solve this. And sometimes you've programmed yourselves into a corner. Sometimes what you've done is so bad that you really just can't get it into production. So, Jerry Weinberg, testing starts at project conception or before. Be on the lookout for organizational dysfunctions. Guys, bless your hearts, we're citing a lot of these. in your midterm, thermocline of truth. Oh, it's so true. It's so true. I have seen it so many times. Likewise, the density effect, which isn't universal. It depends on the organization. If you have an organization that is functional for its developers, the good ones will stay. But when I'm watching this right now with someone I know who works for an organization, this person's been quite happy there, but there's been changes in management and things are going south. And this person said, yeah, I'm starting to look for a new job, and most of the other good programmers are starting to look for a new job. Because we all see where this is going. 7 deadly sins. It's me testifying before Congress. Actually testifying before a subcommittee in the House of Representatives. Written stuff. Hey. But, you know, it sounds nice. You know, when asked why so many IT projects go wrong, it's because avarice, sloth, envy, gluttony, wrath, lust, and pride. You can interpret each of those, and you'll say, yeah, this is pretty much, it boils down to human errors. And this is so important when you're doing a new system, whether it's in-house or a new product. People hate change. And you will find this resistance. If it's an in-house project, the users want it to work just like the old system, but better. The information systems department that will have to support the new application when it goes in production will grumble and complain because they've already got too much on their plates. It's something new to maintain. And then you've got managers who are funding it who typically want the impossible. There's a long laundry list of features that you want, and you've got 6 months to do it and budget of $500,000. This is a good chart. This is new. Remember this. This is a good way this is from Accelerate types of organizations. And again, these slides will go up, as will the lectures themselves. This is a good way to sense what kind of organization you're in or are interviewing with. Some of my favorite maxims, some of which I've already quoted. That first one, in architecting a new program, all the important mistakes are made in the first day. Oh, this is so true. There are so many failed projects that I can trace back and say, why was this ever approved in the first place? Why didn't someone say, wait, that actually doesn't make sense. We need to scale this back, or we need to lengthen the time frame, or we shouldn't be using this technology. My close friend, oh yes?
Can you give us some examples of the types of decisions you make on day one that mess you up?
We're going to replace our accounting system with a custom-built accounting system. Oh, might it not be better to go buy 4 Oracle financials? No, we want our own because we have a very special organization and we want to do exactly what we want. It's like, no, it might be safer and cheaper to go buy, well, we don't want to pay Oracle this money. We want to do it ourselves. We think we can do it cheaper. Well, no, you may actually just want to buy this and customize it and live with the differences and the fact that it doesn't do all the things that you explicitly want to do. Others are, well, Pages. We spent 5 years, ran through $7 million of venture funding. Our target platform was the next operating system. As I like to say, it seemed like a good idea at the time. It never got an installed base of any size, and of course, Mac OS, or Next Step eventually became Mac OS 10. But it didn't do that till about 5 years after we closed our doors. So. But the name of the product lives on. Steve liked the name of our product, Pages, so that's why Apple used it for their own word processor. Alan Ashton, former professor here, taught the first and last class I had. Also co-founded WordPerfect and is pretty much responsible for Thanksgiving Point. There's an Ashton Lane up there. But Very first class I had back in fall of '74. Said, whenever someone tries to do something for you, they usually end up doing it to you, and I still quote that on a regular basis. People hate change. Yes.
What does that mean exactly, that when they try to do it for you, they end up doing it to you?
They said, oh, we're going to change, okay, we're going to change this feature in iOS 12. Work a different way because we think it's an improvement. It's kind of like, no, it's not, and now I have to relearn a set of gestures, and I've got to do something different. And, you know,
Basically like saying, don't do me any more favors, please.
yeah, don't they, it's basically when they make a change or modification for something and say, we're doing this for your own good, because we think this is a better way of doing it. I was using Microsoft Word 2003 up till about 2 years ago, because I hated the change that they made in 2007 or whatever it was. They moved the menus around, they put in their ribbon interface and so on. I was like, I don't want that, I word processor, I want something minimal. And I finally gave it up just because it was hard getting updates for 2003. So. Anyway, Brooks, take no small slips. If you're on a project that's not going to make the deadline and they ask you what's the new deadline, don't take a small slip. Take the biggest possible slip you can get. This was in part the mistake I made at Pages, or we made collectively, but I'll take full responsibility. It's kind of like, okay, we're not going to ship in March, but we think we'll ship in June. Actually ended up shipping the following March. I wasn't ready to, and frankly didn't believe that it was going to be a year late, which actually leads us to our next one. I was surprised it get to be a year late, one day at a time. And the corresponding dictum there is, it is very, very easy to lose a single day on your schedule. It is almost impossible to make it up. Except, how do you make up schedule time? Drop features, yes. If you learn nothing else in this class, learn that. That's, and you wouldn't believe how many organizations don't realize that. You can't add people, you can't say we're going to do this, we're going to work, overtime or whatever. If you want to make up time, you drop features.
Is that a suggestion for our final demo?
Yeah, actually. And a lot of you have done that. I mean, I read through your status reports, and a number of you in your status reports basically said, oh, we're doing less than we thought we were going to do for the final demo. And that's exactly it. That's why I don't have a mandate as to what you have in your final demo. Because you're learning yourselves, really not, in fact, who is it? It's the RPG game, and basically said, yeah, we're having to go back to just one battle. Said we originally thought, halfway through we thought we could do more, and now we're scaling back to our original proposal, which is just one battle. That's so important. And of course, this one, effect change in the organization, you must go into work every day prepared to be fired. So, next week, your final individual assignment is this PostMortem. I'm not looking for anything fancy. This can just be plain text document or whatever, basically one page, doesn't have to be a full page. But I want each of you to write up and submit to me by the last day of classes, which is a week from Thursday. You can do it by email or by Slack. What went well on your project? What didn't go well? What you would do differently? Now that you're at the end of the class, it's kind of like, if I knew at the start of the semester what I know now, this is a different approach I would suggest for our project. What lessons, if any, you're going to take into whatever the next software project is you end up doing in the real world or in a class or whatever. And I'd love to get any recommendations you have, pros and cons, things that were really good, things that you think I should change. I'm always trying to improve this. I will note, for my own part, I made 3 major changes this semester, and I'm very happy with all 3. One was the status report, one was the use of Slack, and one was having the 2 demos. In my opinion, those were all successful improvements to the class. I'm always looking for something to improve the class. So you can do that. For next week, final project demos plus a 2-minute maximum pitch. I will actually time you why investors should fund it. So you can come up, you can stand up here as a team, or you can stand up, you just send a few people up. I want to hear a 2-minute pitch, no more than 2 minutes. I will stop you if you go over 2 minutes. As to why you have a cool project that someone should give money to. And then do your demonstration. I want the demonstrations no more than 3 minutes, so in total, you should not go over 5 minutes. I will cut you short if you go over 5 minutes. Do that. Get your postmortem to me by Thursday, but you can get it sooner. You can get it to me today, this week, whatever you want. And you can always contact me. You know, I'm happy if you want to add me as a contact on LinkedIn. You can do that. I have plenty of former students there. If you want to use me as a recommendation, I will go back and look at your grades, but hey, you know, 95% of you have A's. So. And the rest of you would probably say, yeah, good student. They finished the class.
Call you Bruce after we finish.
And you can, after next week, you can call me Bruce. So you will all next week. Okay, you got one more week for Professor Webb. Any other questions before I dismiss you? Oh, you should have done your last podcast by last Saturday. Your teams have one more status report for this Saturday, and that's it. People are going, wait, what? Merry Christmas. And that's it, Merry Christmas. Yeah, you guys, this is such a fun class to teach. They did ask me, like I said, I thought the class might be going away. The department's looking at doing a capstone project, year-long capstone. And they were going to get rid of this class, and they did. But apparently that's been pushed off at least a year because they just asked me to teach this again fall and winter next year. So this is great fun. Okay, that's it. You can all go. See y'all next week. End the program.
I need to meet with people. I don't know what to do.
Like, oh, it's gonna be